Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels, and occasionally I'll review a movie. Basically, I just do whatever the hell I want. Check out my merch, link is in the description. I have t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, and coffee cups. More coming every week. Hello everybody, how you doing? Today we're going to talk about another religious cult, the family cult. And this video is from a channel called Nocturnal Emissions. It says Doomsday, Baby Snatching, and LSD. The family cult. Let's check this out. Right. I can get it lined up. Let's check this out right now.
When I was coming up with tonight's episode, I was really reminded of Rosemary's Baby. Okay, you've seen it, yes.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Because the movie is so old, and I do not care about ruining it for you because the movie is literally like 40, 50 years old. You need to watch it.
I know what it is, though.
I was reminded of that scene at the end where Rosemary has just had her baby and they told her that she lost it, but then she starts hearing crying in the walls and she starts to wander around her apartment complex, and then she comes to that room where there's all these creepy old people just kind of waiting around this bassinet, and then she looks inside and there she sees her baby, but she doesn't recognize it because it kind of probably looks like a goat baby. Well,
yeah,
spoiler,
isn't
the
like Satan's child or something?
Has the son of Satan. I don't know. Actually, maybe they don't even gender the baby. Sorry, that's my fault for gendering Rosemary's Baby. Anyway, I'm just thinking about the scene of this woman who is at her most vulnerable. She's just had a baby. She's been gaslit the entire time, sedated by this group of people that are supposed to be concerned for her. Her partner, doctors, people who seem like they should be legitimate grown-ups who are all around her, and then they trick her and take her baby and use her baby for some other malicious, nefarious purposes. And it really reminded me of the terror of this story. Tonight's episode is all about the family, one of Australia's most infamous,
they're from Australia.
Bizarre, cruel cults that has ever existed in that country. We're going to be talking about
Have you heard of the family
Anne
Claire Bear
Hamilton
or
Byrne,
Maxine?
who is infamous, and last week, I believe, passed away. So let's delve into it. Sometime in 1964, Raynor Johnson, a noted physicist and author, started to host meetings at his home in Ferny Creek in Melbourne, Australia. His interest in mysticism, psychic phenomena, religion, and Indian spirituality led him to a young yoga teacher named Anne Hamilton Byrne. The members of his group were locals from the area, mainly made up of nurses and medical personnel. They came to call themselves the family. Their philosophy was a mix of Christianity and Hinduism, with the influence of popular gurus of the time. It was also believed that Anne was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Many cite Anne's beauty as a seductive quality of her recruitment. Much of the language about her is a sexist depiction of her as some sort of temptress who cast a spell over the men and women around her, especially Raynor Johnson. Because female cult leaders are much rarer than male cult leaders, it's hard to compare. But it's interesting to me that so much of the blame of how this woman got so many people to trust and follow her was by seducing them. I don't think I've ever
heard of a female
Anne
cult leader.
Is kind of a peculiar case. I really had a lot of trouble finding information about her. It was difficult finding photos or interviews or even information about where she was born or if she had siblings. You see, Anne isn't actually her real name. Her real name is Evelyn Grace Victoria Edwards. For the sake of this video, I'll keep referring to her as Anne. She had a troubled childhood. She was the eldest of 7 children. Her mother was a schizophrenic who was hospitalized several times, and Anne spent many years in the old Melbourne orphanage. At 20, she changed her name permanently to Anne Hamilton and married the father of her only biological child. He died in 1955. It was around this time that Anne began exploring religion and yoga. Anne began teaching yoga around Melbourne.
I don't need
and
religion.
gathered
Just be a good
followers for her
person. That's all that
classes.
matters.
These women would later become the aunties to Anne's brood. After Anne met Rainer, she labeled him her John the Baptist, and his wife and daughters joined the family. During the late 1960s into the 70s, the family began recruiting new members at the nearby New Haven Hospital, since so many members were already hospital staff there. Rainer had many friends and associates who were lawyers, doctors, teachers, and psychiatrists, and he introduced them all to Anne. One of them was New Haven psychiatrist Howard Whitaker. Anne needed medical staff in her circle because part of her own practice was the ingestion of psychedelics and tranquilizers in a ritual that she called going through.
Drugs.
The control and administration of drugs was crucial to her maintaining control. Drug use was a part of the spiritual practice, and magic mushrooms were referred to as sacred mana. Many patients were given LSD, and it is believed that the connection to the hospital was how Anne began acquiring children. By doping up patients already suffering from psychological afflictions, doctors and staff were able to convince or coerce people to give away their children to Anne. With the help of her affluent devotees, Anne began acquiring property around Australia, England, and America. By 1985, her daughter,
LSD.
Sarah Hamilton Byrne, judged the total amount of Anne's wealth
I think it would scare me too much.
At least $150 million by all of her real estate properties. Anne's philosophy was that she was Christ come to earth in a female form to warn of the upcoming apocalypse, and only by following her completely and utterly would they survive the inevitable destruction. It's a cliche but well-tested cult mentality. Anne would separate couples and put them in different relationships. She would decide who would have children, and then Anne would claim the babies as her own. Many of the women even got plastic surgery and dyed their hair blonde to resemble their leader more closely. By 1968, Anne began acquiring children with her partner Bill, and by 1975, 14 infants and young children.
Sounds like the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Her mother was schizophrenic, and sounds like she's batshit crazy too.
Were acquired from the manipulation and lies of other members who were lawyers, doctors, and social workers. The children were kept at the Kai Lama property, also called Uptop. They were homeschooled and completely secluded from the outside world. All they did know was that Anne Hamilton Byrne was their mother, and all the other adults were aunties and uncles. It's a wonder what was going on inside of Anne's mind. Did she want to acquire children to soothe the wounds of her own dysfunctional childhood, or was her reason more bizarre? She convinced all the other members that they had to acquire more children so that they could repopulate the earth after the end of the world. Anne even had all of the children bleach their hair so that they would look all the same, maybe reminiscent of some sort of perfect Aryan race to rebuild the world. Anne and Bill...
They look like the kids from that movie, The Village of the Damned. That's pretty creepy there.
Were seldom around, and the children faced unimaginable amounts of cruelty. They had a rigid routine: up at 6 a.m., yoga, meditation, more yoga, schooling, listening to Anne's sermons, more meditation, more sermons, with a small, bland vegetarian meal in between. Many times the children appeared pot-bellied and stole food or ate bird seed or grass if they were hungry. Anne was fearful of her children not being perfect, and if she thought they were getting too overweight, she would restrict their diets and give them vitamin tablets and tranquilizers to calm them. A child referred to as Cassandra, who was 11 at the time she was taken from the compound, weighed only 44 pounds and grew 4 inches once she left. If children disobeyed her or failed in any way, they were subject to intense beatings, starvations, and public humiliation. Even if a child was sick,
that's pretty
they would be
Christ-like,
punished
isn't it?
for being attention-seeking. The irony was that love and care for animals was heavily preached, while the beating and abuse of children was encouraged. One of the mantras of the cult was, quote, "A belting a day keeps evil away." The children, just like the members, were given drugs like LSD to keep them docile and obedient.
Wow.
Suffering, Anne taught, was just how Jesus ascended to heaven, and that suffering was the way to increase one's karma. So really, she was doing the children a favor by torturing them.
What a
And
nice lady,
half-assed
huh?
cultural appropriation meant she didn't have to know anything about Hinduism or reincarnation or Christianity. She could just make it up as she went along to further her own agenda. In 1987, 3 girls broke away from the group and went to the police to report what was happening on the properties, and on August 14, 1987, all children were removed from the premises in a raid. Anne and Bill fled Australia for 6 years to avoid punishment, and in June of 1993, they were arrested and extradited back on what was called Operation Forest. In Australia, they faced conspiracy to defraud and to commit perjury by falsely registering the births of 3 unrelated children as their own babies. The Hamilton Burns pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of making a false declaration and were fined $5,000 each. The family was under surveillance for several years by local law enforcement, who were suspicious of the activity going on in the properties. In the 1980s, a child named Kim Helm was reported missing by her father. Her mother, Patricia Helm, was a member of the family, so the police went to the compound to retrieve her. A judge ruled that the girl be returned to her father, and Patricia and Kim disappeared. A week later, they were found in Auckland using false names. This began the media's exposure to the cult. In 2016, a documentary was released at the Melbourne International Film Festival called The Family. It delves fuller into the children's experience inside the group, detailing their abuses and the emotional trauma that they still suffer. On June 13, 2019, Anne Hamilton Byrne, self-described Jesus Christ, died at the age of 97. I had this story on my list for a while, but once I heard about her death, I decided it was an appropriate time to make the video. I really don't understand Anne at all. Maybe it was her pathology, maybe she had a little bit of the schizophrenia that her mother had, or the mental illness that was passed on in her family.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
steal
That's what it sounds
so
like.
many babies that you don't even want to raise? Babies that you ignored most of the time? Why go through all of the trouble of doping up women in hospitals so that you can steal their babies, separating families so that you could spend most of your time in vacation in upstate New York? After the raids of '87, many members began to leave the cult. Children were then reunited with their birth families or placed in foster homes, and the family's popularity waned. Bill Hamilton Byrne died in 2001, and by 2013 it was reported that Anne was close to death and suffering from dementia. And Ben Shenton, who was part of the family at 18 months, said the cult had become, quote, a toothless tiger. With the death of Anne, it seems like the legacy of the cult has no chance of a final resurrection. Former Victoria Police Detective Lex DeMann, who led investigations into the cult, said he had received a number of confirmations on Friday that Hamilton Byrne had died. Quote, the normal reaction when you receive the news of death of someone is one of sadness, he said. It's quite the contrary for me today. Today was a great day, in that now she's dead. She can rot. The lives she affected and her evil deeds, I shed no tear, not a drop. Unquote.
That's pretty sad. You know, somebody who went through all that, I completely understand them feeling like that and everything. But then again, I didn't go through it, so I kind of sympathize with her too, with her upbringing and everything, and having a schizophrenic mother probably made her nuts. Like they say, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, so I think I'm a lot like my dad in a lot of ways. Just from, you know, being raised by him. I know, it's crazy. Makes me think how lucky I really am. Oh well, these people weren't voluntarily taken into the cult either, so you can't really blame them for going into it. They were basically taken as children, she was saying. That's crazy. How about a joke? Today I'm going to be trying an old sketch that I heard years ago when I was a little kid. It was by a guy named Flip Wilson. Now, I'm going to do it a little bit different than he did it. But you can find it online if you wanted to check it out here on YouTube. It's called The Gardener. I hope you like it. It's about a rich guy who just came back from vacation, and he's talking to his gardener, and he's basically asking him, how's everything been going since I've been gone on vacation? Well, hello, Harry. What's been going on while I've been on vacation? No, ain't much been going on other than the dog died. The dog died? How'd the dog die? Well, he found some dead horse meat in the barn, he ate it, then he died. How did dead horse meat get in the barn? Well, you see, the barn caught on fire and burned the horse, and the dog ate the meat and died. Okay, hold on, slow down. How'd the barn catch on fire? Well, it was the sparks from the house. See, the roof of the house was burning. Sparks flew over the barn, burned the barn and the horse, and the dog ate the meat and died. House? How'd the house catch on fire? Candles. See, the fire from the candles caught on the curtain, shot up the wall of the roof, and the roof started burning. The sparks flew over the barn, burned the barn and the horse, and the dog ate the meat and died. Candles? What were candles doing in there? We have all electrical fixtures in the house. What the hell were candles doing in there? Oh, they were the candles right in your mother-in-law's coffin. See, your mother-in-law, she had a heart attack and died. That's when we put the candles around the coffin, fire caught onto the curtain, shot up the wall of the roof, and the roof started burning. The sparks flew over the barn, burned the barn and the horse, and the dog ate the meat and died. My mother had a heart attack and died. Harry, what the hell is going on around here? Look, I'm not going to tell you but one more time. See, your wife ran away with the milkman. When your mother-in-law heard about it, she had a heart attack and died. That's when we put the candles around the coffin, the fire caught onto the curtain and shot up the wall of the roof, and the roof started burning. The sparks flew over the barn and burned the barn and the horse, and the dog ate the meat and died. Now, other than that, ain't nothing happening. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, check out my merch, #MeanGene, all that fun stuff, and I will see you next time.